On a magical Halloween night, the forest pulsed with the festive energy that surrounded all its inhabitants. The trees, adorned with artificial spider webs and illuminated pumpkins, seemed to whisper secrets as the gentle breeze rustled through their branches. Sammy, a clever and curious snake, slithered along the ground covered with dry leaves, admiring the decorations that surrounded her home. The sound of laughter from the other animals echoed through the forest. But to Sammy, it all felt a bit dull. "Why is everyone so happy?" Sammy murmured to herself, feeling like a fish out of water. "I wish I had something exciting to do." She coiled among the leaves, her eyes sparkling with the anticipation of discovering something new. As she explored, Sammy spotted a peculiar glow emanating from a darker corner of the forest. Curious, she approached, slithering through the bushes. When she got closer, she realized the glow was coming from an ancient book covered in dry leaves and dust. The book looked like it had been there for a long time, forgotten by all. Sammy felt her heart race, and with a swift movement, she lifted her head to examine the mysterious object more closely. "Wow!" Sammy exclaimed, her eyes wide. "What is this?" The book's cover was a deep shade of blue, and the golden letters shimmered in the moonlight. She moved even closer, her scales glinting in the silvery light, as her mind filled with possibilities. With a gentle touch, Sammy opened the book and began to flip through the pages. To her surprise, she found a series of spells and potions that promised to transform anyone into something extraordinary. "This is amazing! I could do something really fun!" she thought, a mischievous smile forming on her face. Her gaze stopped on a page that described a potion that could scare any animal in the forest. "This would be a great prank," she thought, winking at herself. "Sammy!" A familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Benny, the rabbit, hopping toward her with a worried expression. "What are you doing with that book?" Excitedly, Sammy replied. "Benny, look what I found. A spell book. I'm thinking of making a potion to scare the other animals. It's going to be so much fun." She curled up in laughter, imagining her friend's reactions. Benny frowned, concerned. "Sammy, you know magic can be dangerous, right? This book might have spells you don't understand. You should leave it alone." The rabbit's ears perked up as he tried to convey his worry, but Sammy, in her excitement, ignored Benny's warnings. "Oh, come on, Benny. Where's your adventurous spirit? Life is too short not to try a little magic. Look, I'm going to gather the ingredients right now." And with that, Sammy began to move quickly, heading into the shadows of the forest, determined to collect everything she needed for her prank. Benny, meanwhile, stood still, shaking his head in disapproval. "Sammy, you shouldn't do this. Think about the consequences." But his voice was lost in the excitement of the snake, who was already far away, absorbed in her plans. As Sammy slithered smoothly along the forest floor, she admired the Halloween decorations that adorned the tree trunks and clearings. The jack-o'-lanterns glowed with cheerful smiles, and laughter echoed in the distance as other animals enjoyed their antics. However, the snake felt bored. "Why is everyone so happy? What's so fun about running around?" she thought, her gaze fixed on a spiderweb swaying gently in the breeze. As she explored, Sammy noticed something peculiar among the dry leaves and accumulated dust on the ground. Curiously, she approached and saw an ancient book, its leather covers worn and a soft light emanating from it, drawing her attention. "Wow! What is this?" she murmured, sliding closer to the object. With a swift motion of her head, she pushed the book's cover, which opened with a snap, revealing pages filled with spells and potions. Sammy's eyes sparkled with excitement. "This is incredible! I could do something really fun with this." She began to flip through the pages, each one more intriguing than the last. The scent of herbs and magic lingered in the air, and the snake could barely contain her enthusiasm. A spell to scare the other animals. "This is going to be hilarious," she thought, already picturing her friend's reactions. At that moment, Benny the rabbit appeared. His expression was one of concern as he spotted Sammy absorbed in the book. "Sammy, what are you doing with that?" he asked, approaching with an air of apprehension. "You know magic can be dangerous, right?" Sammy looked at Benny, a mischievous smile forming on her face. "Oh, Benny, you're always so cautious. This book is amazing. Look, I'm going to make a potion that will scare everyone. It's going to be such fun." Benny shook his head, his long ears drooping, But what if something goes wrong? You don't know what these spells can do. It might be more than just an innocent prank. Stop being so scared, Sammy replied playfully. You're always dousing my plans with cold water. Life is too short not to have a little fun. Come with me. Let's make a potion together. Benny sighed, but Sammy was determined. Ignoring his warnings, she began to gather the necessary ingredients for her potion. Let's see. We need a pinch of weed, some owl feathers, and a bit of stardust, she murmured, glancing intently at the instructions in the book. This is going to be epic. Benny watched, his heart heavy. Sammy, I really don't think you should do this. What if someone gets hurt? What if you can't reverse the spell? You're overthinking it, Benny. That's the problem. Sometimes you have to take a little risk. Just help me find the ingredients and you'll see that nothing bad will happen. Sammy insisted, already moving away to gather what she needed. Benny followed her reluctantly, but his gaze remained alert. I just want you to know that I'm worried. Magic can be tricky, and it's not a joke. Relax, Benny. Everything will be fine. Just trust me, Sammy replied, laughing as she mixed the ingredients in a small puddle of water she found. Little did she know that her friend's words were a valuable warning, and the fun she craved could turn into something very different. The magical forest was filled with mystery and enchantment on that Halloween night. The leaves shimmered under the moonlight, while Sammy, with her slender, scaly body, focused on her mixture. She had found an old spell book, and was determined to create the perfect potion to scare the other animals. With excitement glimmering in her eyes, Sammy began adding the ingredients she had collected. Petals from flowers that glowed like stars, a bit of nectar from a rare flower, and even some owl feathers that Benny had reluctantly lent her. This is going to be amazing. The others are going to be so scared, Sammy exclaimed, stirring the mixture in a small clay pot she had found on the forest floor. With every movement, a vibrant energy seemed to emanate from the potion, making the air around her electrically charged. But while Sammy was completely absorbed in her creation, Benny, her rabbit friend, approached, worried. He stopped a few steps away from her and shook his head, his long ears twitching with concern. Sammy, are you sure this is a good idea? Magic can be dangerous. What if something goes wrong? Sammy turned to him, a mischievous smile on her face, and replied, Oh, Benny, you're always so scared. It's just a potion, and I'm a smart snake. Trust me. She laughed, ignoring her friend's serious expression. It's not fear, it's caution. You don't know what these spells can do, Benny insisted, trying to convince her to give up. Remember what happened last time someone played with magic? But Sammy was determined. Just a little bit of fun, Benny. You'll see, it's going to be the best Halloween night we've ever had. And without further ado, Sammy drank the potion, anticipation pulsing in her heart. In an instant, an explosion of light and color erupted from the potion, illuminating the forest as if it were daytime. The trees began to sway wildly, and a strange sound, almost like off-key music, echoed throughout the area. Panic took hold of the animals. Birds took flight in distress, while other animals ran around in confusion, not understanding what was happening. Sammy, what have you done? Benny shouted, his eyes wide with fear. He watched in horror as the forest transformed into a chaotic spectacle. Sammy, on her part, felt a knot of guilt form in her stomach. What was supposed to be a simple prank had turned into a nightmare. I didn't know this would happen, Sammy replied, her voice trembling. The glow of the potion still danced around her, but now it seemed more like a curse than fun. She looked around, watching the panicked animals, and realized that her prank had real consequences. We need to do something. Fast, Benny said, trying to organize the other animals who were in a state of panic. We can't let this continue. What are you going to do, Sammy? I don't know, but I need to fix this, she replied, feeling increasingly distressed. It was all my fault. Chaos engulfed the forest, and in that moment of desperation, Sammy realized she couldn't solve this alone. She needed her friends. Benny, let's gather the others. We need help to undo this. All right, but we need to act quickly, Benny said, determined, as Sammy started to slither rapidly toward the place where she knew her friends would be. The guilt and fear were palpable, but the need to repair her mistake was even stronger. She had learned the hard way that magic without responsibility could cause unimaginable havoc. Now, It was time to join forces and find a solution before Halloween night turned into a real disaster for everyone in the forest. Desperate, Sammy slid quickly through the forest, her scales shimmering under the moonlight. Her heart raced in her chest, and the feeling of guilt consumed her. She wondered if she could reverse the chaos she had caused. The wind whispered among the trees, as if the forest were warning her about the consequences of her actions. Upon spotting Benny, the rabbit, Sammy hurried toward him. Benny was standing still, ears perked up and a worried expression on his face. He had tried to warn her about the dangers of magic, but she hadn't listened. "Sammy!" he exclaimed, a mix of relief and concern in his tone. "What happened? The forest is completely out of control." I made a potion," Sammy replied, her voice trembling. "I just wanted to scare the other animals a little, but everything got so confusing. The trees are dancing, and the birds, they're singing in a strange way." Benny shook his head, trying to process the gravity of the situation. "You shouldn't have messed with this, Sammy. Magic can be dangerous. We need to find a solution before things get worse." At that moment, Olivia, the wise owl, landed on a nearby branch, observing the scene with a deep gaze. "What's happening here, friends?" Her voice was soft yet filled with authority. "I sense disorder in the forest." "Olivia," Sammy exclaimed, rushing to the owl. "I made a potion to scare the other animals for Halloween, but now everything is out of control. The trees are dancing and the birds, they seem to be in a trance." Olivia frowned, her feathers bristling. "Sammy, you must understand that magic is not a game. There is responsibility involved. We need to work together to fix this." Max, the clever squirrel, came scampering along, his small, agile body darting between the fallen leaves. "What's going on? I heard strange noises and thought it was some Halloween party." "No, Max, it's a disaster," Benny said, gesturing to the chaotic forest. "Sammy tried to use magic, and now everything is out of control. We need a solution." Max looked at Sammy with curiosity. "You have the spellbook, right? Maybe we can use it to figure out how to undo this." "I have it," Sammy admitted, a bit embarrassed. "But I don't know if I can understand the spells. I just wanted to do something fun." Olivia moved closer, her wise eyes fixed on Sammy. "Remember, dear friend, that true wisdom comes from learning. Let's study the book together. With knowledge and teamwork, we can find a solution." "That's right," Max said excitedly. "Let's meet in a clearing. Together we can do this." "Yes, let's go." Sammy agreed, feeling a glimmer of hope. She led her friends to a clearing illuminated by the moonlight, where the dancing shadows of the trees seemed to watch closely. Once they arrived, Sammy pulled out the spellbook from her bag, its yellowed and worn pages telling stories of old. "Here it is. Let's see if we can understand something that will help us." Benny moved closer, looking over Sammy's shoulder. "There must be something here that can help us reverse what you did." "Look at this," Max said, pointing to a page that showed a spell with a drawing of a snake and a rainbow. "This looks promising, but it doesn't say what to do after it's cast." Olivia studied the page carefully, tilting her head. "We need to decipher the symbols and understand what each of them means. That might give us a clue about how to undo what has been done." Sammy nodded, her determination growing. "Let's do this together, everyone. I don't want the forest to suffer because of my recklessness. This is my responsibility now." The four friends joined forces, each willing to contribute what they could. The atmosphere was charged with a new purpose, and Sammy felt that despite the mistakes she had made, she had the chance to learn and redeem herself with her friends' help. The group gathered in a clearing bathed in the soft light of the moon. The trees, once frantically dancing, now seemed to observe with curiosity what was about to happen. Sammy, still nervous and embarrassed by the chaos she had caused, stared at the spellbook resting on a moss-covered stone. Benny, with his ears perked up, stood by her side, ready to help despite his fears. Olivia the owl flew to a nearby tree and perched on a low branch, while Max the squirrel settled beside the book, his eyes shining with determination. "We need to understand what happened so we can fix all of this," said Olivia, her voice deep and wise. "If we don't know how the magic worked, it will be impossible to undo it." "I can read," Sammy exclaimed, her voice trembling. I just don't want the other animals to be afraid of me. I just wanted to have fun." "We all want to have fun, Sammy," Benny replied gently. But fun shouldn't cause fear. Let's work together to solve this. Max, always enthusiastic, began flipping through the book, his little paws moving quickly over the pages. Look at this. There's a spell here that might help reverse the effects of the potion you made, he said, pointing to a pair of glowing with an almost magical light. But it's complicated. It says we need special ingredients and teamwork. Teamwork, that's good, right? Sammy asked, her curiosity starting to overcome her fear. Of course, Benny replied. If we come together, we can do it. Each of us has something to offer. Let's go then, Max said excitedly. Sammy, you can use your talent to find the ingredients. Benny, you can be quick and agile to collect them. I'll mix everything, and Olivia can guide us and help us understand what each ingredient does. All right then, Sammy agreed, feeling a new surge of energy. What's the first ingredient? We need moonflowers, said Olivia, her voice calm and serene. They only bloom at night and are essential for restoring the magic. I know a place where we can find them, Sammy said, sliding quickly through the forest, her confidence growing. Benny followed closely behind, leaping over fallen leaves and exposed roots. After a few minutes of searching, Sammy stopped in a small field illuminated by the moonlight, where white, glowing flowers stood out against the dark ground. Here they are, she shouted, and Benny quickly reached her side. These are beautiful, Benny exclaimed, admiring the flowers. Let's pick some. While Sammy and Benny collected the flowers, Max and Olivia analyzed the next part of the spell. We need a bit of mist from the Lake of Serenity, Max read aloud. They say it brings calm and helps stabilize magic. I know a lake near the big rock, Benny said. We can go there. Let's go, quick, Sammy whispered, eager to complete the mission. The four friends headed toward the lake, and upon arriving, they found a light mist covering the surface of the water. Max was the first to approach. I'll grab some with a leaf, he suggested, as he prepared to dip the leaf into the mist. Be careful, Max. Don't get wet, Sammy warned, laughing as she watched the little squirrel trying not to fall. With a nimble move, Max managed to collect the mist and brought it back to the group, his expression glowing with happiness. Great job, Max, said Olivia, her eyes shining. Now we just need one last ingredient, the essence of laughter. The essence of laughter? Sammy asked, a bit confused. How do we get that? Simplicity, Benny explained with a smile. We need something that makes us laugh. Let's remember a funny moment together. Sammy thought for a moment. Do you remember the time Max tried to imitate the birds' dance and ended up falling into a pile of leaves? Max started laughing. And you, Sammy, almost hid underground in embarrassment. It was hilarious. They all began to laugh, and the essence of laughter seemed to float around them, as if the very air was having fun. This is perfect, Olivia said, with a satisfied look. Now that we have everything, let's head back and prepare the potion. As they returned to the clearing with the ingredients in hand, Sammy felt grateful to have such special friends. She realized that while magic was powerful, the true strength lay in the bond and friendship they shared. As the moon illuminated the magical forest, Sammy and her friends gathered in a clearing where the atmosphere was charged with tension and anticipation. The chaos caused by the botched potion still echoed among the dancing trees and flustered birds. With the ancient spellbook open in front of them, the group prepared to face the challenge of restoring peace. We need a plan, said Benny, the rabbit, nervously twitching his ears. We can't keep going like this, or the entire forest will be in panic forever. Sammy looked at the book, her heart racing. I didn't know this would happen. I just wanted to have fun. But now we need to fix this, she admitted, feeling guilty for the confusion she caused. Olivia, the wise owl, flew closer to the book, her large wings making a soft sound as she landed. Let's analyze the book calmly, she suggested. Maybe there's a spell that can help us reverse the situation. We need to understand what each spell does. Max, the clever squirrel, began flipping through the pages quickly, his eyes shining with curiosity. Here it is, he exclaimed, stopping at a page that described a complex but powerful spell. This spell says it can undo the effects of any magic that has gone out of control. But we need special ingredients and, more importantly, we need to work together. What ingredients? Sammy asked, her interest piqued. Max pointed to the list of ingredients in the book. We need moonflower petals, a drop of morning dew, and to top it off, A bit of laughter from friends. He looked at the group with a mischievous smile. The last part seems easy, right? Benny smiled a little, but his expression quickly turned serious. Okay, but how are we going to get the moonflower petals? They only bloom at night and are right at the top of that hill. I can go, declared Max, hopping on one foot. I'm the most agile here. I can climb up and get the flowers while you look for the dew. Great idea, Max, said Olivia, admiring the squirrel's determination. We can collect the dew near the stream, and as for the laughter, well, that will be the easiest part. Sammy nodded, feeling relieved to have such helpful friends. Let's go then. We need to hurry before the situation gets worse. As Max dashed toward the hill, Sammy and Benny headed to the stream. Do you think we can do this, Sammy? Benny asked as they walked. I just hope there are no more surprises. I hope so too, Sammy replied, a hint of nervousness in her voice. But I promise I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Arriving at the stream, they began collecting the dew. The water reflected the moonlight, creating a sparkling spectacle. As they gathered the droplets, Benny started making funny faces, trying to make Sammy laugh. Check this out, I'm the prettiest rabbit in the forest, he said, striking an exaggerated pose. Sammy couldn't hold back her laughter. Benny, you silly rabbit, if you keep this up, you won't get anything done. Ah, but laughter is essential, isn't it? He replied, winking at her. And you need to relax a bit. Gradually, the tension between them began to dissipate. Sammy realized that despite the challenge ahead, the friendship and lightheartedness Benny brought encouraged her. You're right, Benny. We need laughter to make this work, she agreed, still smiling. With a flask full of dew and laughter in their hearts, they returned to the clearing, where Max was already waiting, holding a handful of moonflower petals. I got them, he exclaimed, panting but beaming. Great job, Max, said Sammy, admiring the flowers. Now we just need to mix everything and cast the spell. Let's do it, Benny said excitedly. We're almost there. It's time to take action. The group came together, each contributing their part, fueled by the spirit of collaboration. The challenge ahead was still great, but together they were ready to face any difficulty, and above all, learn the importance of friendship and responsibility. With the light of the moon illuminating the clearing, Sammy and his friends gathered around an improvised table made of logs. The spellbook lay open before them, its yellowed pages whispering ancient secrets. Tension hung in the air, but there was a renewed determination among the group. They had worked hard, and after several frustrating attempts, they were finally ready for one last try. Okay, everyone, let's go over the ingredients again, Benny said, glancing at the list that Max had written on a piece of paper. We need a bit of fairy dust, a drop of morning dew, and the essence of a moonflower. I can get the fairy dust, Max offered, his eyes shining with excitement. I know the way to the fairies' hill. They always like to help me. Great. And remember, just a little bit, Sammy warned, his heart racing. If we're going to do this, we need to make sure we're following all the instructions correctly. Right. I'll make sure I don't take too much, Max promised, bouncing with joy. And I'll be back in a flash. As Max set off on his mission, Sammy turned to Benny and Olivia. Do you think we can really do this? After everything that's happened, I'm scared we'll mess up again. Olivia, with her usual wisdom, gently landed beside the snake. Sammy, remember that we've learned a lot from our mistakes. Magic doesn't always work the way we expect, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And more importantly, we're in this together. Yes, and we're going to succeed. Benny reinforced, his gaze confident. Working as a team, we can overcome any challenge. With a deep sigh, Sammy nodded. You're right, let's do this together. Anxiety began to fade, replaced by a sense of hope. Minutes later, Max returned, bringing a small pouch filled with fairy dust that shimmered like stars. I got it. They were so happy to see me that they even gave me a little extra, he said, winking. That's perfect, Sammy exclaimed, her eyes shining. Now we just need the morning dew and the essence of the moonflower. I'll get the dew, Benny offered, quick in his decision. It's easy. It's on the grass by the stream, and the moonflower, well, Olivia, you must know where to find it, right? Yes, it grows near the ancient tree where the moonlight shines the brightest. I'll go get it right now, Olivia replied, taking off gracefully. With all their friends in action, Sammy felt a wave of gratitude. They were together, facing the consequences of their actions and ready to correct their mistakes. After a few minutes, everyone reunited in the clearing. The table was filled with ingredients. Max, Benny, and Olivia had brought everything they needed. With anxious hands, Sammy began to mix the ingredients. "Remember, Sammy, it's important to follow the exact order," Olivia reminded, watching closely. "First, we add the fairy dust, then the dew, and finally the essence of the moonflower." "Okay, here we go," Sammy murmured, focusing intently. Carefully, she poured the fairy dust into the bowl. It glowed brightly as it came into contact with the air, as if responding to the magic that had been awakened. Next, she added the dew, which mixed smoothly, creating a luminous mist. "Now, the essence," Benny said, his voice filled with anticipation. Sammy hesitated for a moment, looking at her friends. "Ready?" "Ready," they said in unison. With a firm movement, Sammy poured the essence of the moonflower. As the ingredients met, the mixture began to bubble and emit colorful lights, illuminating the clearing. The warmth of the magic vibrated in the air, and all the animals in the forest seemed to feel the energy. "This is amazing," Max exclaimed, his eyes wide. "Now, Sammy, you need to drink the potion and throw it into the sky, just like the book says," Olivia reminded, her voice filled with urgency. Sammy held the bowl with determination. "Here goes nothing." And taking a deep breath, she drank a gulp of the magical potion. Instantly, the mixture exploded in a wave of light that illuminated the forest, making the trees sway gently and the birds sing harmonious tunes. "It's now, Sammy! Throw it!" Benny shouted, excited. In a quick motion, Sammy raised the bowl and tossed the potion into the sky. The light spread like fireworks, and a wave of energy coursed through the forest. All eyes were fixed on the luminous spectacle. But as the light faded, a profound silence fell over the place. Sammy looked around, hope mixed with apprehension. "Did it work?" she asked, her voice trembling. The trees stopped dancing, the birds returned to their normal singing, but something still seemed out of place. Sammy furrowed her brow, uncertainty hanging in the air. They had done everything right, but what was missing? The atmosphere in the forest was charged with tension and anticipation. The light from the spellbook shone brightly, as if it were alive. Sammy, with her scaly body curled up in a corner, looked at her friends with a mix of guilt and anxiety. Benny, Olivia, and Max were all by her side, watching the phenomenon unfolding before them. "Look, Sammy, the glow is changing," Benny exclaimed, his ears twitching with excitement and worry. "What do you think that means?" Sammy swallowed hard, her heart racing. "I don't know, Benny, but maybe it's time we find out what's really happening." At that moment, the light from the book intensified even more, and a glowing message began to form on the yellowed pages. The letters danced and intertwined, forming words that seemed to echo in the air. "The true magic lies in friendship and responsibility." The words resonated like a deep whisper, touching the hearts of everyone present. Sammy stood paralyzed, comprehension beginning to seep into her mind. Magic wasn't just about casting spells or creating mischief, it was about the connections she had and the impact of her actions. "Did you hear that?" Max asked, his eyes wide. "That means magic can be something much more powerful than we thought." "Yes," Olivia replied, her voice soft and thoughtful. "It means that what we did here today wasn't just a prank. We have a responsibility to use any power we possess to do good, not to cause fear or confusion." Sammy looked at her friends, seeing the concern and determination in their eyes. "I just wanted to have fun," she confessed, her voice trembling. "I never thought it could get so out of control. I'm sorry." Benny approached her, placing his paw at her side. "We know, Sammy. We all make mistakes. What matters now is learning from them and doing better. The message of the book is clear. True magic is how we treat each other. And in how we work together," Max added, winking at Sammy. "If we have the courage to unite our strengths and our hearts, we can create something incredible." Olivia nodded, her eyes shining with wisdom. "Yes, and that's a lesson worth learning. Real magic isn't about spells, but about the experiences we share and how we support one another." Sammy felt a wave of gratitude for being surrounded by such understanding friends. "So what should we do now?" she asked, determination beginning to rise within her. "We should use this new understanding to do something good," Benny suggested. "The forest needs joy, and we can be the reason for that." Let's throw a celebration, Max said, his energy infectious. A Halloween party that brings all the animals of the forest together. We can show that true magic is friendship. With that idea in the air, a renewed spark filled the group. Sammy felt her heart swell with hope. Yes, let's do it. Let's show everyone that true magic is being together. The light from the book began to dim, but the message now echoing in their hearts was more powerful than any spell. Sammy and her friends were ready to transform the confusion they had created into something beautiful and meaningful. They knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but with the strength of friendship by their side, they were determined to make a difference. With the decision to create a Halloween celebration that united all the animals of the forest, Sammy and her friends launched into a true organizing mission. The clearing, where chaos had once reigned, was now transforming into a vibrant space filled with colors and ideas. Sammy, excited, looked at her friends and exclaimed, "Let's throw the best Halloween party this forest has ever seen." Benny, always practical, began listing the things they would need. "We need decorations, food, music, and of course, some fun tricks. What do you all think about a costume contest?" He hopped with excitement, his long ears flopping. "I love the costume contest idea," said Max the squirrel as he bounced around. "We can have prizes for the most creative ones." He was already envisioning a basket filled with acorns as a prize that would surely make all the animals happy. Olivia, the wise owl, perched on a low branch, watched the group's enthusiasm with a smile. "Remember, friends, true magic lies in doing things together. We'll need a good dose of teamwork to make everything perfect." From that moment on, the work began. Sammy took charge of collecting the most colorful and shiny leaves for decorating. She slipped between the trees, admiring the autumn colors mingling with Halloween decorations. Meanwhile, Benny and Max went to gather fruits and nuts, discussing the best way to make a delicious snack. "Look at this, Benny," Max shouted, holding up a shiny red apple. "This will be the star of our treat table." "Definitely. But let's grab some pumpkins too. They're essential for Halloween," Benny replied, already imagining the lanterns they could make from the pumpkins. Meanwhile, Olivia flew to the highest part of the forest, where the trees stood tall and the winds were strong. She knew she needed something special for the party. On a branch, she found some shiny feathers that could be used as decorations. "These will add a magical touch to our party," she thought, bringing them back to the clearing. After a few hours of hard work, the clearing was almost ready. There were spider webs made from silk threads, pumpkin lanterns lighting the way, and a table filled with fruits, nuts, and sweets. Sammy looked around, satisfied. "We're almost there. We just need the music. I know some songs we can sing," Benny said, excited. "Let's form a circle and everyone can join in." "Great idea," Max agreed. "That way everyone can have fun together." Finally, as the sun began to set, the animals started to arrive. First came the birds, bringing cheerful songs. Then the foxes, deer, and even the neighboring squirrels joined the party. The clearing was now filled with laughter and animated conversations. "Wow, Sammy, you did an amazing job," said a golden-furred fox, looking around. "Everything is beautiful." "Thank you. It was a team effort," Sammy replied, feeling proud. With everyone gathered, Benny climbed onto a high rock and called for everyone's attention. "Hey everyone, we're here to celebrate Halloween, but also to celebrate our friendship. How about a costume contest right now?" The animals began to stir with excitement. The foxes showcased their bat capes, while the birds displayed their colorful feathers. Even Sammy, who had adorned himself with some shiny leaves, was having fun with the idea of joining the contest. With each costume presented, the laughter and applause grew louder. "This is the best Halloween party we've ever had," shouted Max, as everyone cheered for a group of bunnies dressed as ghosts. As night fell, the stars began to twinkle in the sky, and the clearing lit up with pumpkin lanterns, creating a magical atmosphere. Sammy looked at his friends, feeling a deep joy. "This is what I call true magic. We're all together, celebrating friendship." And so, under the glow of the lanterns and the light of the stars, the forest animals danced, sang, and celebrated, united by a bond stronger than any spell. At the height of the Halloween party, while laughter and music echoed through the lantern-lit forest, a mysterious figure appeared at the edge of the clearing. It was a golden-furred snake that shimmered under the gentle moonlight. All the animals, surprised, paused for a moment, turning their curious and cautious gazes toward the newcomer. Sammy, still recovering from the effects of the spell that nearly caused a disaster, felt a chill in his stomach. The golden snake, with a serene and gentle gaze, glided through the grass and approached Sammy and his friends. "Greetings, little inhabitants of the forest," she said in a melodic voice. "I am Aurelia, the guardian of this magical forest. I come to you in gratitude." Sammy, confused and intrigued, asked, "Gratitude? Why? We caused a great mess with the magic we found." Aurelia smiled softly. "Yes, but you also learned a valuable lesson about the true essence of magic. Magic does not lie solely in spells and potions, but in the unity and friendship you share. I witnessed your efforts to restore peace and harmony to this forest. That is something worthy of recognition." Benny, the bunny, looked at Sammy and whispered, "Wow, this is amazing. I never thought a golden snake would show up at our party." Aurelia continued, "Therefore, as a reward for your courage and commitment to friendship, I offer you a special gift." She paused, observing the hopeful faces of the animals. "The ability to create magic through friendship. This magic is not the same as that from the old book, but it is much more powerful." Max the squirrel widened his eyes. "You mean we can do magic together instead of using dangerous spells?" "Exactly," Aurelia confirmed. "When you come together in harmony, you can create something magical that transcends any potion or enchantment. This magic comes from the heart, from the connection you have with one another." Olivia, the wise owl, with a gleam of understanding in her eyes, interjected, "And what do we need to do to access this magic?" Aurelia replied, "Simply believe in one another and work together. When you unite with love and respect, magic will flow naturally. It is a force that can transform your friendship into something extraordinary." Sammy, moved, looked at his friends. "Did you all hear that? We can create our own magic. Let's do something amazing together." The friends eagerly agreed. "Yes," shouted Benny, "let's spread this magic throughout the forest." Aurelia then approached the clearing, where the pumpkin lanterns shone brightly. "Now, let's celebrate what you've learned. The true magic is unity. Let's do a demonstration." The animals gathered in a circle, each holding the paws or claws of the others. Aurelia guided them. "Focus on your bonds, on your memories, and on the love you share. Feel the energy of friendship flowing between you." Sammy closed his eyes and concentrated. In his heart, he recalled the moments they shared, the laughter, the challenges, and how they always supported each other. The energy began to grow, and a soft light started to emanate from the center of the circle. Benny, Olivia, and Max felt the same connection and began to sing a friendship song that echoed through the forest. The light intensified, enveloping all the animals in a golden glow. Aurelia smiled satisfied as she watched the magic of friendship manifest before her eyes. "This is just the beginning. Your magic is capable of uniting not just this forest, but all the beings that inhabit it." When the light finally dissipated, all the animals were radiant, feeling more connected than ever. Sammy, looking at Aurelia, thanked her. "Thank you, Aurelia. I learned that true magic is within us, in the bonds we create and the friendships we nurture." Aurelia nodded, pleased. "Continue to spread this magic, little friends. It will be your greatest ally in all the challenges you face." With that, Sammy closed the spellbook, realizing that he didn't need magic to have fun. The true magic, he realized, had always been present in his friendship with Benny, Olivia, and Max. Don't drift off just yet, because another story is waiting to be told. The sun was beginning to rise on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink as the first lights of day illuminated Sunny Acres Farm. It was a spectacle that repeated itself every day, yet the beauty of the dawn never failed to impress the farm's inhabitants. In the center of the courtyard, Rufus the rooster perched on a wooden fence, stretching his neck and, with a deep breath, released his morning anthem. His crow echoed throughout the place, vibrant and full of energy, quickly spreading like a wave of enthusiasm. "Cock-a-doodle-doo." Rufus's voice resonated, bringing life to the surroundings. The other animals began to wake up, each responding to the rooster's call in their own way. Daisy the cow, dreamy and gentle, slowly opened her eyes, a soft smile lighting up her face. She loved the sound of Rufus's crow, which always seemed to inspire her to dream even bigger. Ah, a new day, Daisy exclaimed, stretching as she looked out the window of her barn. Today is the perfect day to plant my garden. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation, and she could barely contain her excitement at the thought of how beautiful her flower-filled space would be. However, Daisy's joy soon mixed with worry when she noticed that Benny the rabbit had not joined the morning chorus. Rufus, always attentive to his friends, also noticed Benny's absence. He furrowed his brow and, after a moment of hesitation, decided he needed to find him. "Benny! Benny!" called Rufus, hopping down from the fence and flapping his wings lightly. "Are you in there? The sun is already up, my friend." He made his way to Benny's burrow, which was a bit farther from the farm, surrounded by bushes and wildflowers. Rufus didn't know what might be happening, but he was sure that Benny always felt happier when surrounded by friends. As he approached the entrance of the burrow, Rufus paused and gently tapped the ground with his foot. "Benny, you can't stay in there forever. Come out and see the beautiful day waiting for you." From deep inside the burrow, a timid voice responded. "Oh, Rufus, I don't know if I want to come out today. I'm feeling a little down." Rufus frowned, sensing a wave of concern for his friend. "Down? But what happened, Benny? You've always been the fastest rabbit on the farm. Remember the spring race? You won easily." A pause followed, and Rufus could hear Benny sighing. "Yes, I remember. But what if I can't run that well this time? What if I fail?" The rooster shook his head, understanding his friend's insecurity. "Benny, everyone has bad days, but you need to remember that you're not alone. All of us are here to support you. The race is just part of the fun. What really matters is being together." After a moment, Benny slowly emerged from his burrow, his ears drooping and his eyes still uncertain. "Do you really think I can do it, Rufus?" "Of course," exclaimed Rufus, a spark of determination in his eyes. "Let's go together. The day's just beginning, and I'm sure that with a little courage, you can do amazing things." With those encouraging words, Benny finally stepped out of his burrow, and the sunlight touched his soft fur. He looked around, realizing that the world outside was more inviting than he had imagined. Rufus smiled, pleased to see his friend taking the first step toward regaining his confidence. "Let's go. The day is beautiful, and we have many adventures ahead of us," said Rufus as the two made their way to join the other animals, ready to face another day at Sunny Acres Farm. At Sunny Acres Farm, the sun was beginning to shine brightly, illuminating the green fields and flower-filled fences. Daisy, the dreamy cow, woke up to Rufus the rooster's cheerful crow. She stretched, her dreamy eyes momentarily drifting away from reality as she imagined a lovely garden filled with colorful flowers. The smell of fresh earth was irresistible, and the idea of cultivating a space where she could watch her flowers grow was a dream that pulsed within her. Walking slowly toward the stable, Daisy spotted Oliver the pig, who was enjoying a handful of fresh grass. She decided to approach him, her heart racing with anticipation. "Hi, Oliver," called Daisy, her voice sweet and melodic. "Hi, Daisy, how are you?" replied Oliver with a wide smile and a snout covered in grass. "I'm dreaming of creating a garden, a place full of flowers. Would you like to help me?" Daisy asked, her eyes shining with excitement at the idea. Oliver's eyes widened, filled with enthusiasm. "A garden? That would be amazing. I'd love to help you. What do we need to do first?" Daisy nodded thoughtfully. "We need a place to plant the seeds, maybe near the fence where the sun shines in the morning." "Let's go," Oliver exclaimed, nearly bouncing with excitement. Together, they headed to the spot Daisy had in mind. As they arrived, Daisy began to look around, imagining how it would be when everything was in bloom. "Look at this soil. It's perfect," said Oliver, stomping his feet on the soft ground. "Let's start digging." Daisy smiled, picking up a small shovel that was leaning against one of the fences. "You'll help me with this, right?" "Of course. Let's do this together." Oliver grabbed another shovel and started digging beside Daisy. As they worked, laughter and conversation flowed naturally. "Daisy, have you thought about the flowers you're going to plant?" Oliver asked as his hooves worked the soil. "I want roses, sunflowers, and daisies. The most colorful flowers possible. And I want the butterflies to come visit," replied Daisy, daydreaming. "Imagine how beautiful it would be, a place where all the animals could come and admire." "That's going to be wonderful, and when the flowers bloom we could throw a party to celebrate." Oliver suggested, excited by the idea. Yes, a party with lots of food and music, Daisy exclaimed, now completely immersed in her vision of the future. As they dug, Daisy realized that it wasn't just the physical work that made her happy, it was Oliver's company. Their friendship made the effort feel much lighter and more fun. Amid laughter and playful banter, they continued to work until the area was ready to receive the seeds. After a few hours of hard work, Daisy sat down on the grass, exhausted but satisfied. Phew, look how clean and tidy everything is. Now let's plant the seeds. Oliver nodded, grabbing a packet of seeds that Daisy had brought. Here they are. Let's start with the roses, he said, carefully holding the tiny seeds. Daisy smiled and began to scatter the seeds in the freshly turned soil. I can't wait to see how everything will turn out. Do you think it will work, Oliver? Absolutely. But you know flowers don't grow overnight, right? Oliver replied, winking. Yes, I know. But patience is a virtue, right? I'll have to learn to wait and take care of them, Daisy said, looking at the soil with hope. And I'll be here to help you take care of them. We'll water them every day and protect our garden, Oliver promised, excited about the prospect. As the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink, Daisy reflected on what she had learned that day. She knew that the path to her dream wouldn't be easy, but with Oliver's help and the strength of their friendship, she was ready to face any challenge. And so, with hearts full of hope, they continued to plant the seeds, dreaming of what the future would bring. Rufus approached Benny's burrow, feeling the cool morning breeze that carried the scent of wet grass. The sun was starting to rise on the horizon, tinting the sky orange and pink, but there was no sign of the rabbit. With a gentle flap of his wings, he landed at the entrance of the burrow and called out, Benny! Oh, Benny, is everything okay in there? From inside the burrow, a trembling voice replied, No, Rufus, I don't feel like coming out today. It's much easier to stay here, underground. Benny's tone was heavy with discouragement and insecurity, reflecting how he felt inside. Worried, Rufus decided not to give up. But the day is so beautiful. Look, I'm singing. Don't you want to hear? I don't know if I want to hear anything. What if I can't run like I used to? What if I'm not good enough? Benny retorted, his voice growing quieter as insecurity overtook him. The ever-optimistic rooster couldn't let his friend sink into sadness. Benny, remember the spring race? You were amazing. We all remember how you won. That was a big accomplishment. But what if it doesn't happen again? What if I fail this time? Benny's frustration manifested in a deep sigh. He didn't want to be a burden to others. He didn't want to disappoint them. You forgot that the race isn't just about winning. It's about having fun and doing your best, Rufus insisted, flapping his wings to make himself more visible at the burrow entrance. And I'll be there with you, cheering as always. The only thing you need to do is take the first step. Benny hesitated. Rufus's words began to echo in his mind, but doubt still kept him trapped. What if I can't do it? What if everyone laughs at me? If they laugh, I'll be there to sing louder and support you. You're not alone, Benny. We're friends, and friends help each other. Now come on, just take a look outside. The rooster was determined to help his friend find the courage he didn't even know he still had. Finally, after a moment of silence, Benny took a deep breath and decided to take a chance. All right, Rufus, I'll try, but only for you. With that, he crawled out of his burrow, the sunlight hitting his face. At first, he felt overwhelmed and a bit lost, but Rufus's presence at his side brought him some comfort. Look, the sun is shining, and all the other animals are out there having fun. Rufus pointed to the field where the other animals were already preparing for the day. Look how happy they are. You can join them. Benny looked around, his eyes widening at the vibrant life pulsating around him. Do you really think I can do this, Rufus? Of course. Remember, you've won before. You just need to believe in yourself again. The rooster placed a foot on Benny's shoulder in a gesture of encouragement. You're right, Benny said, his voice a bit firmer now. If you're by my side, I can try. Let's go. With renewed energy, he began to follow Rufus, feeling the pulse of the farm all around him. As they walked, Rufus continued to remind Benny of his past achievements. Do you remember when everyone thought you couldn't jump over that fence? And you went and did it, with finesse. Yes, and everyone was so happy for me, Benny smiled, the memory starting to spark a flame of self-confidence he thought he had lost. Maybe I don't have to worry so much. Exactly. Every day is a new opportunity, and no matter what happens, I'll always be here to support you, Rufus affirmed, his voice full of enthusiasm. Benny looked up at the sky and felt a wave of hope wash over him. Thank you, Rufus. I really need you as a friend. That's what we do, Benny. Now, let's join the others and show everyone how amazing you can be. With a new sparkle in his eyes, Benny felt ready. He was determined to rediscover the courage that had always been within him, knowing that he was not alone on this journey. Pat the duck watched from his favorite spot under the shade of a big tree while the sun shone brightly over sunny acres. He observed Rufus and the other animals having fun, singing and dancing on the lush green grass. The rooster's crow echoed in the fresh morning air, and the melody seemed to touch Pat's heart. But he couldn't feel part of that joy. The quack that came from his mouth sounded weak and uncertain, a shadow of what he wanted to be. Why can't I sing like them? Pat thought, sighing as he nervously flapped his wings. Insecurity consumed him, and he wondered if he would ever find his own voice. He looked at Rufus, who was in the center of the circle of animals, enchanting everyone with his vibrant song. I wish I could be as confident as he is, he murmured to himself, feeling small and insignificant. Then Rufus, noticing Pat's sad expression, decided to approach him. Hey Pat, what are you doing here all alone? Asked the rooster in a warm tone. Pat looked at Rufus, hesitating for a moment before answering. I'm just thinking, I can't sing like you, and that makes me sad, said the duck. Looking away, Rufus smiled gently and sat down beside him. You know, Pat, each of us has a unique way of singing. Don't worry about being like me. What matters is that you sing in your own way. Your voice is special, said Rufus, encouraging him. Pat looked at the rooster, feeling a bit more hopeful. But what if I don't know how? He questioned, insecurity still present in his voice. Like anything, Pat, you need to practice. Let's try together, replied Rufus, winking. Come on, show me how you sing. There's no need to be afraid. I'm here to help. The duck swallowed hard, but Rufus's kindness gave him a bit of courage. Okay, I'll try, said Pat, taking a deep breath. He positioned himself next to Rufus, feeling his heart race. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, began Rufus, and together they released their first sounds. Pat, still hesitant, emitted a soft and trembling quack. Rufus, noticing his friend's shyness, started to sing a simple melody for Pat to follow. That's it, Pat. Try a little louder now, encouraged Rufus, flapping his wings. With each attempt, Pat felt a bit more secure. Quack! Quack! He exclaimed, a bit more confident. Rufus laughed. That's it, you're doing great. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just be yourself. Pat began to relax, and soon his quacks became clearer. The music seemed to flow, and he let himself get carried away by the melody. I think I'm starting to like this, said Pat, surprised by his own reaction. See, I knew you had it in you. Now keep practicing, said Rufus, flapping his wings in a celebratory gesture. Let's do a little performance for the others. A performance? Now? Pat asked, his eyes wide. Of course. It's a great way to practice and show how far you've come, replied Rufus, full of enthusiasm. Pat hesitated, but Rufus's excitement was contagious. All right, let's do it, he decided, feeling a little braver. They started to move toward the group of animals, and as they got closer, Pat could hear laughter and applause. Look, it's Pat and Rufus, shouted Oliver, the pig, with a big smile on his face. What are you two up to? Rufus turned to Pat and whispered. Remember, trust yourself. They're excited to hear you. Pat felt his heart race, but as he looked at the encouraging faces of his friends, he remembered what Rufus had said. He took a deep breath and alongside Rufus began to sing. The melody came from his mouth, and to his surprise it sounded better than he expected. The other animals stopped and began to clap, excited by Pat's courage. This is amazing, Pat, shouted Daisy, the cow, while the other animals joined in the chorus. Pat smiled, feeling accepted and happy. At that moment, he realized that the true beauty of music wasn't just in perfection, but in the joy of expressing oneself and the courage to be who he truly was. The sun shone brightly over sunny acres, and the gentle morning breeze carried the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Daisy, the dreamy cow, had bright eyes filled with joy as she admired her flourishing garden. The seeds she and Oliver had planted were now transforming into an explosion of vibrant colors, with flowers of all shapes and sizes. Each day, the garden became more beautiful, and Daisy's happiness grew along with the plants. "Look, Oliver, look how beautiful those daisies are," exclaimed Daisy, shaking her head with enthusiasm. The pig, who was beside her, smiled at his friend's joy. "I've never seen such beautiful flowers." "You did an amazing job, Daisy," replied Oliver, his eyes shining. They were surrounded by tall sunflowers, violets, and even some tulips that danced gently in the wind. The garden was a testament to the effort and dedication both had put into their dream. As the two admired the beauty around them, other animals from the farm began to gather. Rufus, the rooster, was the first to arrive, singing cheerfully. "Good morning, friends. What's happening here? This place is a true paradise," he exclaimed, landing on a nearby log. Rufus's eyes widened when he saw the flowers. "You really outdid yourselves." "Thank you, Rufus. I just wanted to have a beautiful place for all of us," said Daisy with a radiant smile. "And with Oliver's help, we succeeded." The cow looked at her friend, her heart overflowing with gratitude. "You were essential, Oliver. I couldn't have done it without you." "Ah, Daisy, I just helped a little," Oliver replied shyly. "But seeing you happy makes it all worth it." Meanwhile, Benny the bunny and Pat the duck were slowly approaching, drawn by the celebration. Benny felt more confident now after his talks with Rufus, but still had butterflies in his stomach as he joined the others. Pat, on the other hand, seemed nervous, realizing how much fun everyone was having. "Wow, the garden is amazing," Benny said, stopping next to Daisy and Oliver. "How did you manage to do all this?" "It took hard work and patience," Daisy explained, "but it was worth it. You should also try something you love, Benny. Like the race you're going to participate in." I'm trying," Benny replied hesitantly, "but I still feel like I'm not good enough." Pat, overhearing the conversation, decided to chime in. "Benny, you're amazing. Remember that everyone here believes in you, and who knows, maybe you can even run in your own style." "That's true," Rufus added, nodding in support. "Each of you has your own skills, and that's what makes each of you special. Daisy has her garden, Oliver is a great helper, and you, Benny, have a strength that can surprise everyone." Daisy smiled and said, "And you, Pat, have a beautiful voice. Never doubt yourself. We all have something unique to offer." Pat felt his heart warm with their encouraging words. He had always felt insecure about his singing, but now, looking at his friends, he realized he could take a chance. "Thank you, everyone. I'll remember that," he said, determined. The atmosphere was filled with joy and unity. All the animals began sharing their own stories of challenges and triumphs. Rufus recounted the time he had to face a cat that wanted to steal his feathers. "I learned to be brave and protect what is mine," he said with a smile. Daisy, still gazing at her garden, reflected, I realized that the garden is not just about flowers, it's about what we learn along the way. Patience, friendship, and the strength we find together. And every flower here is a reminder that we can grow, even in tough times," Oliver added, looking around in admiration. As they talked, the sunlight grew brighter, creating a spectacle of colors in the garden. The positive energy and spirit of friendship and overcoming challenges filled the air. It was a magical moment, where each animal felt that together, they were stronger and capable of facing any challenge that life threw their way. Daisy's garden celebration became a symbol of hope and unity, forever etched in the memory of Sunny Acres. The day of the annual race in Sunny Acres had arrived, and the atmosphere was filled with anticipation and excitement. The animals gathered around the track, each buzzing with the possibility of watching Benny the bunny run again. Rufus the rooster was especially anxious. With his feathers shining in the morning sun, he approached Benny, who was standing in the shade of a tree, looking at the track with a mix of nerves and determination. "Benny, are you ready for the big day?" Rufus asked, his tone encouraging. The bunny looked down, his ears drooping in despair. "I don't know, Rufus. What if I fail? What if I can't run like before?" Benny replied, his voice trembling. "You've won races before, haven't you? Remember the spring race? Everyone was cheering for you," Rufus insisted, trying to reignite the spark of confidence in his friend. Benny took a deep breath, recalling the adrenaline of that race, the feeling of the wind on his face, and the joy he felt crossing the finish line. "Yes, I remember. But what if I can't do it this time? He whispered, insecurity still evident in his eyes. Look at all your friends here, Rufus said, gesturing towards the crowd of animals gathering around the track. Their support is what matters. You're not alone, Benny. We're all cheering for you. Gradually, Benny began to feel warmth in his chest, a mix of hope and nerves. You're right, Rufus. I will try. The two made their way to the starting line, where the other animals were already positioning themselves. Pat the duck came over, his anxious gaze reflecting his own nerves. Benny, are you really going to race? This is exciting, he said, trying to mask his own insecurity. Yes, Pat. I'm going to race. Cheer for me. Benny replied, feeling a bit more secure seeing the excitement in Pat's eyes. The race began. The animals lined up, and Rufus, with his vibrant crowing, gave the signal to start. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! And with that, the competitors shot off down the track. Benny hesitated for a moment, but then, remembering Rufus's words and the enthusiastic cheers from the other animals, he leaped into action and started to run. The wind hit his face, and adrenaline surged through his veins. Each step became more confident, and the insecurity that had previously dominated him began to fade away. Go, Benny! You can do it! Shouted Oliver the pig from the sidelines. We're with you. The words of encouragement from his friends echoed in his mind, giving him strength. Benny passed other competitors, his speed increasing with each meter. He felt the vibrant energy of support, and for the first time, he began to believe he could actually win. As he ran, Benny glanced around and saw Rufus flying alongside him, singing an upbeat tune. Remember, Benny, look ahead and stay focused. You're stronger than you think. The rooster soared above like a beacon of hope, guiding him. Benny felt his heart race. He wasn't just running, he was conquering his fears. I can do it, he whispered to himself, gaining courage with every step. As Benny approached the finish line, he spotted the crowd of friends, each cheering and rooting for him. Go, Benny! You're the best, shouted Pat, excited as the other animals joined in a chorus of support. With one final push, Benny made a last effort and crossed the finish line. Hearing the applause and shouts of joy, he couldn't help but wear a radiant smile. He had done it. Even though he wasn't sure what position he had finished in, he had overcome his fears and doubts, and that was a victory in itself. Rufus descended from the sky, landing beside Benny, his gaze full of pride. I knew you could do it, Benny. I'm so proud of you. Breathing heavily, Benny looked at Rufus and the friends around him. Thank you all. I couldn't have done it without you. The joy in his heart was palpable, and he finally felt like the brave rabbit he had always been. Pat looked at Rufus with a mix of uncertainty and determination. The rooster was always so confident, crowing loud and clear at dawn, making the duck feel small and insignificant. But that day, something inside him seemed to change. He decided he wouldn't hide anymore. He approached the group, his webbed feet swaying nervously as he searched for the right words to express his desire. What do you think, Rufus? I want to try singing too, said Pat. His voice trembling slightly but with a glimmer of courage in his eyes. Rufus turned, smiling broadly. Pat, you should sing. Each of us has our own voice, and yours is unique. Let's practice together. The other animals nearby stopped to listen to the conversation. Daisy, with her gentle gaze, encouraged, Yes, Pat, we all love to hear you. Don't be afraid, we're here to support you. Pat felt his heart race. The support from his friends was more than he could have hoped for. But what if I mess up? What if nobody likes what I sing? He looked at the ground, unsure. Benny, who had been watching from a distance, stepped closer and placed his paw on Pat's shoulder. Remember, Pat, it's not about being perfect. The important thing is to express yourself. I was scared to run in the race, but when I decided to try, I realized that the support of friends is what makes everything worthwhile. Pat took a deep breath and looked at Rufus, who was ready to help him. I'll try, he declared, although his voice still held a hint of hesitation. Great. Start with a simple note. Just follow my lead, said Rufus, singing a clear, strong note. The rooster closed his eyes, letting the music flow from his chest. Pat watched closely, trying to capture the confidence that radiated from the rooster. With a bit of effort, Pat began to mimic the note, but his voice came out a little hesitant. He stopped, feeling a prick of frustration. I can't do this. Don't give up, Pat. Try again, encouraged Daisy, her enthusiasm infectious. Practice makes perfect. Pat looked into the encouraging faces of his friends and decided to try once more. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and focused on the music inside him. With his heart racing, he started to sing again. This time, his voice came out a bit stronger, still shy, but there was a glimmer of hope. "That's it, Pat. Keep going. You're doing great." Rufus cheered, and the other animals joined in with applause. Their enthusiasm gave Pat an extra boost. Feeling more confident, he slowly began to experiment with different notes and rhythms. After a few tries, something magical happened. Pat realized that his voice, while different from Rufus's, had its own beauty. "Look! You're singing! This is wonderful!" exclaimed Benny, hopping excitedly. "I've never heard anything like it before." Pat opened his eyes, a wide smile lighting up his face. "Really? You actually liked it?" "Of course! You should sing more often. Your voice is unique and beautiful, Pat," said Daisy, admiration shining in her eyes. Feeling accepted and praised, Pat sang a little improvised song and the animals began to join in. The harmonious sound of their voices blended together, creating a melody that echoed across the farm. "I never thought I could sing like this," Pat said, his radiant smile beaming. "Thank you, friends. You helped me find my voice." Rufus, with a sparkle in his eyes, replied, "That's what friendship does, Pat. We're always here to support you. Remember, together we are stronger." Pat smiled again, feeling part of something greater. He knew that although he still had his insecurities, the friendship and support of his friends were the true strength that would help him face any challenge. The sun began to set over sunny acres, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, creating a magical backdrop that reflected the joy permeating the farm. All the animals gathered in a large circle in the center of the field, where the sweet scent of Daisy's flower garden mingled with the fresh aroma of freshly cut grass. With a sparkle in his eyes, Rufus, the rooster, stepped forward, his golden plumage shining in the twilight. "Friends, today is a special day. Let's celebrate our achievements and the strength of our friendship," Rufus exclaimed, his voice firm and animated. The other animals began to stir, eager to share their stories and experiences. "I want to start," said Daisy, the cow, with a wide smile. "When I decided to cultivate my garden, I was afraid I wouldn't succeed. But with the help of Oliver and all of you, I learned that true beauty comes from our combined efforts. Every flower that bloomed is a reminder of what we can accomplish together." "That's true, Daisy," shouted Oliver the pig, as he jumped with enthusiasm. "I remember how we were all so different, but we united our skills and created something wonderful. This garden is a symbol of our friendship." Pat, the duck, who had been a bit shy until then, finally found the courage to speak. "I wanted to say that when I started singing, I felt insecure. But each of you supported me and made me realize that my voice has value too. I never imagined I could feel so happy singing alongside you." Pat's eyes sparkled as he looked at Rufus. "Thank you for encouraging me to be myself. You taught me that I don't need to be perfect to be accepted." "We all have insecurities, Pat. The important thing is that we support each other," Rufus replied, with an understanding look. "And that's what makes Sunny Acres such a special place. Here, we are family." The animals exchanged glances, each feeling the warmth of camaraderie. "Let's sing together," suggested Benny the rabbit, with a nervous but determined smile. "I may not be the fastest, but I have a big heart and want to celebrate with you all." "That's right, Benny," Rufus encouraged. "Music is a way to express our joy. Let's make this moment unforgettable." With that, Rufus began to sing a cheerful song about friendship and overcoming challenges, and timidly, the others joined in. Pat's voice soared, and he felt free, as if his insecurities were being carried away by the wind. The animals united in a harmonious chorus, each contributing their own style, and the music echoed across the fields, blending with the song of the returning birds. "Look at our garden!" exclaimed Daisy, gazing at the colorful flowers dancing in the breeze. "All our hard work has paid off. We're all here together, and that's all we need." "Yes, and let's always remember that even when things get tough, we have each other," Benny said, now more confident. "That's our strength." The group continued to sing and dance under the reddening sky, feeling the vibrant joy that filled the air. The music became a tribute to their journey and the bond that had formed among them. With each note, their friendship grew stronger, and everyone there knew that, no matter what challenges they might face in the future, they would always have each other to support and encourage one another. When the last note echoed across the field, a reverent silence fell over them. The animals embraced, filled with gratitude and love. The feeling of unity and hope filled their hearts, and in that moment, they all knew they had found something truly special in Sunny Acres. Friendship was the true treasure, and together, they would face whatever came their way. A dark cloud began to form on the horizon, and the once gentle breeze picked up an unexpected force. Rufus, perched on a fence, felt the shift in the air. He looked around, noticing the unease on the faces of the other animals. Daisy, who had been admiring her blooming garden, frowned as she saw the approaching storm. "Rufus, what's happening?" Daisy asked, concern lacing her voice. "I think we need to do something." The rooster, always ready to take action, flapped his wings and replied, "We need to prepare. This storm could be strong. Let's gather and discuss how we can protect the garden and each other." Meanwhile, Benny, who was near his burrow, felt his heart race. He remembered how he had recently overcome his fears, but the thought of a storm made him nervous again. "What if something happens? What if we can't save the garden?" he murmured to himself, his insecurities creeping back in. Pat, who was beside him, heard Benny's worry. "Hey Benny, we're a team, remember? We're all in this together. Let's unite and do our best," he encouraged, trying to convey confidence to his friend. The animals gathered in the center of the farm, where Rufus organized them. "Friends, we need to protect Daisy's garden. If the storm is strong, we might lose everything we've built so far. Who's willing to help?" He looked around, seeking determination in each pair of eyes. Daisy raised her voice. "I won't let a little rain destroy our hard work. I'll need all of you. We can make a barrier with logs and stones to protect the flowers." "I'll help," shouted Oliver, the pig, already moving quickly to find the needed materials. "Come on, everyone. Let's go, Benny. You can do it," Rufus cheered, noticing the rabbit's hesitation. "Remember the courage you found during the race. Now it's time to use that strength." Benny took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, I'm in." He joined Oliver and Daisy, who were working together. The animals ran around the farm, gathering fallen logs, stones, and anything that could be used to protect the garden. The wind began to howl and the rain started to fall, but that didn't stop them. They moved in a frenzy, laughing and shouting to each other, encouraging one another to keep going. "Pat, come help me here," called Daisy as she tried to lift a heavy log. "We need to place this at the edge of the garden." Pat ran over to her, and despite his insecurity, he began to help. "I don't know if I'm strong enough," he started, but Daisy interrupted him. "You're stronger than you think. Together, we're more powerful," she said with an encouraging smile. As the storm intensified, the animals worked hard as a team. Benny, now more confident, began to lead the group, organizing where each log and stone should go. "Here, put this right here. And you, Oliver, keep an eye on what's coming," he shouted, feeling stronger with each passing moment. The wind howled, and the rain poured down heavily, but the group's determination was unwavering. They formed an improvised line of defense around the garden, each placing whatever they could to protect the flowers that Daisy loved so much. "We're almost there. Come on, everyone," shouted Rufus, flitting back and forth, supervising the work and keeping morale high. "Look over there," exclaimed Pat, pointing to an area where water was starting to accumulate. "We need to get there before it's too late. Benny, you and Pat come with me. Daisy, stay with Oliver and help reinforce the barrier," ordered Rufus, and the team quickly split up, each focused on their task. With a racing heart, Benny sprang into action, feeling like he was part of something bigger. The storm raged around them, but the strength of their friendship and teamwork kept them strong. They weren't just protecting a garden, they were coming together, overcoming their fears, and proving that together they could face any storm. After the storm, the sun began to peek out from behind the heavy clouds, and a colorful rainbow formed in the sky, illuminating Sunny Acres Farm with its vibrant hues. The animals, still a bit dazed by the storm's ferocity, gathered around Daisy's garden, now covered in glistening water droplets that reflected the sunlight. Each of their hearts was filled with anticipation and concern, but at the same time there was a feeling of unity that enveloped them. "Let's go, everyone. We need to see how the garden fared," Benny said, his eyes shining with renewed hope. He remembered how small and insecure he had felt before, but now that moment represented a new opportunity to show his courage. The other animals followed him, each carrying their own fears and hopes, but together they formed a strong group. When they reached the garden, they all stopped, astonished. The flowers were even more vibrant than before the storm. The petals in shades of pink, yellow, and blue swayed gently in the breeze, creating a magical sight that seemed almost surreal. Daisy, with tears of joy in her eyes, exclaimed, "Look, my garden! It survived! It survived and flourished! It's even more beautiful than I imagined," shouted Oliver the pig, jumping for joy. "That's the power of nature." "But how did this happen?" asked Pat, looking curiously at the flowers bursting forth in a riot of colors. "It seems like the storm brought something special." Just then, Rufus, who had approached, smiled and explained, "Actually, my friends, the storm didn't just bring destruction. It brought new seeds, seeds of flowers that grew in distant places. The rain brought them to us, and now we have an even more beautiful garden because of it." The animals fell silent for a moment, absorbing the revelation. The idea that something good could arise from a moment of difficulty was comforting. Benny, with a determined look, turned to Rufus and said, "So, that means that even when things seem bad, there's always a chance for something incredible to happen?" "Exactly, Benny," replied Rufus, pride in his voice. "That's what life teaches us. When we're together, even in storms, we can find beauty and strength." "That's so inspiring," Daisy said, looking at her friends with gratitude. "I never imagined that my dream of having a garden could become even more beautiful because of the challenges I faced." The other animals began to gather around Daisy, admiring the flourishing garden. "Let's celebrate this," suggested Oliver, wagging his tail excitedly. "Let's have a party to celebrate our garden and our friendship." "Yes," shouted Pat, now confident. "And I want to sing for everyone. I'll show that my voice can be as beautiful as these flowers." Pat's proposal was met with cheers and encouragement. "That's right, Pat. You're amazing," said Benny, cheering him on. "Let's all sing together." As the animals prepared for the celebration, Rufus started singing a joyful song, and soon everyone joined in. Their voices blended together, forming a harmonious chorus that echoed across the farm. Joy filled the air, and the rainbow above seemed to shine even brighter, as if joining in the celebration. "We're together, and that makes everything possible," sang the animals, each expressing their happiness and gratitude. They danced around the garden, celebrating not only the flowers, but also the strength they found in each other. When the song came to an end, a feeling of peace and contentment settled among the animals. They realized that even in the face of life's storms, friendship and unity would always bring unexpected and beautiful results. Benny felt more confident than ever, and Pat had finally found his place among friends. They knew that together they could face any challenge life threw at them. Sleep tight, little dreamers. I'll be here again tomorrow with new tales for us to enjoy together.